Merhaba herkese. Bir canlı yayınımızda daha beraberiz. Evet, kulaklıkları değiştireyim. Merhaba herkese. Bir açık uzaktan öğrenme alanında uzaktan eğitim koçu etkinliğinde beraberiz. Bir önceki toplantım vardı. Derneğin eğitimi vardı. Oradaydım. Onun kulaklığı takılı kendi kendime konuşuyorum. Allah Allah diyorum. Merhaba, iyi yayınlar. Şu anda Ramesh hocamızın gelmesini bekliyoruz. Umarım çok güzel bir haftanız olmuştur. Güzelliklerle geçmiştir. Neşeyle, mutlulukla geçmiştir. Evet, Derya hocam, Serap hocam burada. Serap hocam, Ramesh'le görüşürseniz. Şimdi ilk defa bir yabancı konuğumuzu alacağız. Ramesh, Dr. Sharma daha doğrusu benim eski arkadaşlarımdan, açık ve uzaktan öğrenme alanında duayenlerden dünyada. Onunla başlamak istedik. Biz bu Covid döneminde, teşekkür ederim Derya. Covid döneminde çok güzel çalışmalar yaptık. Yapıyoruz Dr. Sharma ile de. Serap heyecan yaptı. Görüş tamam. Olsun, heyecan yapma. Nasıl olsa ben konuşuyorum izleyicilerimle. Nasıl geçiyor günleriniz? Açık ve uzaktan öğrenmeyle. Aysel hocam istedi ama şu anda biz Ramesh'i bekleyelim. Ramesh hocam gelsin. Ee, Söz sizi alacağım yayına daha sonra. Bakayım gelenler var mı? Evet, okullar açıldı. Nasıl gidiyor çalışmalar? Alıştınız mı? Hani böyle karikatürlerde var ya, insanlar yürüyemiyor, böyle saçmalıyor. Ben de kendimin yolda doğru düzgün yürüyemediğini fark ettim. Evde öyle alışmışız ki. Bana çok farklı geliyor. Hani bir özlemişiz, evet. Ama böyle sanki çok farklı bir dünyadayız. Farklı bir durum var. Merhaba Seher hocam. Seher hocam geldi. Ben şu arada açayım bilgisayarımı da. Ramesh'i çağırayım. O sanırım bir Zoom sandı ama ben gönderdim ona. Bizim aslında şeyimiz de, üyemiz de uzaktan eğitim koçunda. Evet, şu anda gördü. Page sayfanızdayım diyor. Bu arada da bakıyorum. Soner geldi. Tamam. Bekliyoruz. Merhaba Soner, nasılsın? Soner hocam da geçen haftaki konuğumuzdu. Teşekkür ederiz. Hah, geldi. Dr. Sharma da. Evet, çok sevindik. Hemen ben Dr. Sharma'yı, evet Dr. Sharma'yı da alamıyorum. Nereden katıldı? Açamıyorum. Şu anda şey gözükmüyor. Hah, şimdi istekler geldi. Sharma'yı görebilecek miyim? Evet, gördüm. Fakat tıklayamıyorum. Sanırım bilgisayardan bağlanmış. Evet Dr. Sharma. Yes Dr. Sharma, we are very happy to see you. Hope you can join us soon. Okay, just take your time. Not laptop. Please switch your cellular phone if it is possible. Evet Buket hocam burada. Dr. Sharma'ya yoksa şey. Otherwise I cannot send. Dr. Sharma, I cannot send the link to join us. If you use your laptop, you have to switch your cellular phone, please. Okay, take your time. We are here. Evet, Dr. Sharma şimdi bilgi telefonla install edecek. Aslında sabah söylemiştim ama heyecan yaptı herhalde o da Türkiye'de. Çünkü Türkleri çok seviyor. Bu arada Anadolu Üniversitesi'ne defalarca gelmiş bir hocamız. Fark etmez eğer hani yayın kapanırsa bir daha açarız. Evet Emel geldi. Nesrin geldi. That's great. Evet. Yüklüyor şu anda programı. Evet. Çocuklar okula başladı. Sizler başladınız. İşe başladık değil mi? Değişik bir hafta oldu. Sokaklarda insanları, arabaları görmek değişik geliyor. Ne kadar sakinmiş aslında sokaklar değil mi? Merhaba Can. Evet, Dr. Sharma ile ilgili sorularınız var mı bu arada? Hoca gelmeden önce. Yoksa ben soru soracağım diyormuşum. Kim? Buket hocam burada. Ayşegül hocam, Ceyhan Hanım burada. Esra burada. Esra hocam, Seher hocam burada. Serap gönderdim sana. Niye geçemedin canlı yayına? Bugün canlı yayın hiçbirimizi kabul etmiyor. Gönderdim Serap.
Aa,
Bağlandık en azından.
değişti deyip kimi beklerken kim çıktı?
Evet. Yok ilginç. Sen gönderdin. Senin kabul ettiğim halde açamadım ben gönderince.
Şey
Böyle
oldu
değişik.
galiba hocam, ben Rameş'e linki gönderdim. Sanırım o şeyden girdi. İşte laptop'tan girmiş.
Laptop,
Telefondan değil yazmıştım. Ben de siz de
laptop'tan
sana söylemiştiniz.
yazdım,
Ama
söyledim. Şimdi olsun, yaparak yaşayarak öğrenme. Bir nasihattansa bir musibet hani. Şimdi
evet,
terzi söküğünü dikemez. Doktor Sharma alanın duayenlerinden. Ama hani bu
evet.
ortamı kullanmadıysanız daha önce söyleseniz de olabilir gibi geliyor. Niye yani
Tabii ki.
laptop'tan bağlanmayalım
Ya
diye.
bak, defalarca da kullansak hocam anlık bir şey oluveriyor.
Tabii
Pat.
biz yaşadık bu sorunları da.
Evet,
Bir
kaç
de
kere.
Instagram'ın şöyle bir sorunu var. Sayın arkadaşlarım, hocalarım, mobil telefonlar için geliştirildiği için laptopunuzdan yani diz üstünüzden ya da masa üstünüzden bağlandığınız zaman sorun yaratıyor. Ciddi sorunlar
Evet.
yaratıyor. Sadece izleyici olarak katılabiliyorsunuz ama konuk olarak almada, davet etmede sorun yaşanıyor. Daha herhalde o sistemi çözmemişler. Çözmek de istemiyorlar herhalde.
Ben
Ee,
de bu arada bir deneyelim mi diye sormak isterim hocam size uygun
Diyelim.
bulursanız tabii. Şimdi 1
Estağfurullah.
Mart itibariyle Instagram 2'den fazla kişinin hani ben bu sırf bunun için Hindistan'a gidecektim yollarımı kapadı. 2'den fazla kullanıcının aynı anda sohbet edebilmesi için yeni bir uygulama aplikasyon yani eklenti sağladı. 4 kişiye kadar izin veriyor.
Hı hı.
Live adıyla bunu lanse ettiler. Şimdi bir programda isterseniz Ramesh gelene
Deneyelim.
kadar denemesini yapalım. Eğer gönüllü bir hocamız varsa,
Evet.
katılımcımız varsa
Evet, bir
sormak
deneyelim
istediği
bakalım.
soruyu canlı alalım. 3 kişi olalım.
Tamam. Zaten
Sorusunu
bu
bize
bizim
bu
hayalimizdi değil
hem de
mi?
test etmiş olur. Olur mu?
Live rooms. Olur.
Evet, live.
Evet. Var
Ay
mı
çok.
katılmak isteyen? Can you see me now? No.
Şimdi gelir, şimdi olur.
Evet, İlker Hocam da katıldı. Merhaba İlker Hocam.
Geldiniz.
Nasılsınız? Evet, var mı katılmak isteyen? Yoksa biz
Şimdi
alıyoruz.
tekrar linkten,
Gelecektir şimdi şu anda.
evet,
Bakıyorum.
biraz
Sen
şeyli oluyor,
İstek Hanım,
gecikmeli.
İstek Hocam katıldı. Tabii
Ben tekrar
Hindistan'dan.
link atayım ona hocam bu arada.
Hı.
Rameş'e şuradan link atayım. Var mı katılmak isteyen?
Gel
Alabilecek
gel.
miyim?
Aldım. Aldım.
Hah, tamam. Tamam.
Şarmayı dedim bakalım. Şu anda almaya çalışıyorum.
Tamam hocam.
Serap sen çık aradan almıyor.
Ben çıkayım hocam.
Sohbete katılamazsın diyor. Dr. Sharma, I can see you now. Ah, yes.
Ah, oldu işte.
You are here. You are great.
Perfect.
Hello from Turkey.
Hello from
How are
Turkey.
you?
You know what? This is the first time we are doing this conversation with three people. You are the first one.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
Uh, I think let me have my speaker because the voice is coming low. So I will use my voice.
This conversation
And
three people. You are the first one.
Oh, rötar ne kadar geriden geliyor.
7 saat.
can you check if it is there echo because I'm connected with my lap's phone and the voice is coming because the voice through mobile phone is low.
And now. Oh, rötar ne kadar geriden geliyor.
7 saat.
Ben daha alçak sesle konuşacağım.
Biz çok yüksek sesle konuşuyormuşuz.
Evet. Onda bile yüksek çıkmış sesi.
What happened?
Bak Sharma.
We are loud. Biz çok
yüksek sesle konuşuyormuşuz.
Bizden ileride seher, orada gece yarısı ya da sabaha karşı.
Ayarları sanırım tamam.
Onda bile yüksek çıkmış. Bak koşarlar. We are loud.
But that is better.
Bizden ileride seher, orada gece yarısı ya da sabaha karşı.
Ayarları sanırım tamam.
Dr. Sharma, I let you speak. Please introduce yourself first. And I don't speak.
Okay, better.
Bizden ileride seher, orada gece yarısı ya da sabaha karşı.
Okay, my name is Ramesh Sharma, and I have been director of Indira Gandhi National Open University, which is a distance open university in India, the National Open University for around 2 decades. And besides that, I have taught at Malaysia, in Brazil, in Fiji, in South America, in Guyana, and as well as I taught digital design in Taiwan long back. So currently I am dealing with instructional design in a public university in New Delhi. And I have worked with both of you. So that is my good introduction.
Thank you. Dr. Sharma, thank you for accepting our invitation tonight. You are one of my best friends, you know, and your wife. I wish I can visit your country and you one more time and stay in India. This is my dream.
Yes. Very, very, very much welcome.
You are welcome. And we can start today's conversation.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. So I want to discuss that how the technology is changing the distance education field. That is very important. But not only distance education, even education as such. Long back, I remember that there is a book by World Health Organization, WHO. The name of the book is Where There Is No Doctor. And this book says that what happens for those places where there is no doctor. So if there is no doctor at some place, should we let the people die because there is no doctor there? So in case if there is no doctor, what should we do? And you know, it is very strange that if we are unwell, if we are sick, the first thing which we do is self-medication. You know, self-medication means I think that, okay, I'm having fever, so I will remember that, okay, if I take crocin, then I will get well. So first step is self-medication. Then if situation doesn't improve, then we go to doctor. The doctor treats, and still if there is no improvement, then we get admitted to the hospital, the third stage. And still if there is no improvement, then the fourth stage comes where we are admitted to ICU or something serious. Similarly, if you see now that instead of title of this book, Where There Is No Doctor, if we change the title to Where There Is No Teacher, so what will happen? The technology allows us, as the first step, self-medication as the self-learning. So you have the technology with you, you try to self-learn. There are few things, if you cannot self-learn, then you go to a teacher. Okay, the second step. If the teacher cannot handle it, then you go to a school or a university. They will take care of your education. And still, if there is some problem, then the next final step is that there are residential schools. They will keep you there and take care of your whole education as such. So that way, this will, impact the education. Where there is no teacher, what can be done? And the information and communication technology, it plays a significant role in it because of its features of multimodal delivery mechanisms and multimedia use. Therefore, it offers us suitable opportunities to cater to the diverse needs of increasing student population. And there are various kind of technologies which are being used in distance education. Very simple, like print, audio or video recording, podcasts, computer conferencing, web-based learning, social media, mobile technology, or as advanced as the real-time communication tools, big data, learning analytics, artificial intelligence. I remember you and Serap have written a very interesting and wonderful book on transhumanism. Yes. Then Internet of Things, Internet radio, mobile learning, blockchains. Congratulations to you. Your book of blockchain is very popular.
Yes.
Yes.
View.
And augmented and virtual reality, which is increasing gamification very fast, and Uberized activities. We will discuss about Uberized activities like the Uber car, the company which takes you from one place to another place. Similarly, something those things, they are being put in place to take care of these things. And what is happening that owing to these things, we have shifted from correspondence and we went online. From online, we went mobile, and from mobile, now it is the stage of ubiquitous learning, learning anytime, anywhere. That stage has come with us. And the power of these tools for pedagogy, administration, information, organization, technical, and other benefits. There are special institutions which have been established around the world. For example, University of South Africa, UNISA, Fern University in Hagen in Germany, UK Open University. They are the leading examples. Then there are mega open universities. Sir John Daniel, he gave this term of mega open university. Anadolu University, congratulations to you, is one of the mega open university, because those universities who have more than 1 million students on its rolls, they are called as mega open universities. They are very big in nature. So there are two main factors for the increased interest of the countries in distance education. First is the emergence and advancement of technology, with the help of which the education of masses on large numbers at a distance is possible. And the second is the necessity for continuation of skills upgradation and retraining of the workforce that is happening. Now, there are certain interesting things which are happening around us, the kind of technology which is being available to us. Like just few days ago, I made a presentation on a technique which is called as GPT-3, which is a generative pre-trained transformer. Now, this tool is a very fantastic and wonderful tool, GPT-3, generative pre-trained. You have already trained it, a transformer, because it has more than around 1 billion parameters to take care of it. So what they have done is that this tool, which has been developed by OpenAI, which is a company of Elon Musk. Normally the programming, we consider them whether they are a derivative programming or empirical thing from there. And then so you have functional programming, you have object-oriented programming, you have procedural programming, and those kind of programming tools are happening. So, but initially the programming or the code was used to be done by some person. A programmer will create a program, a software developer will write a code, but now the software teaches itself. So the software will create a code, and this is a very big advancement in the computing field, where the machine learning with the help of deep learning technologies, the software learns itself. And that is very dangerous also, because now your student, your and Serap student, if you give them an assignment, they will come back next day that, ma'am, here is my assignment, but they have not written that assignment. That assignment has been written by the machine. And it's sometimes it will be so accurate that you won't be able to find it, whether the student, they themselves have written that or it has been written by a machine from there. And these changes, the founder and executive chairman of World Economic Forum, Professor Schwab, he identified that currently we are in fourth industrial revolution era. So we believe that we are passing through two kinds of revolutions. The one is fourth industrial revolution phase, in which these technologies like 3D printing, artificial intelligence, drones, self-driving vehicles, where there is no driver, they will drive them automatically, all those kind of things. So these are the technologies of fourth industrial revolution. Similarly, there another stage is the fourth educational revolution. In the education field also, there is a revolution. And this is actually a book by Sir Anthony Sheldon with the same title, Fourth Education Revolution, in which he had spoken that how the artificial intelligence should serve the purpose of humanity, not to dominate it that way. So here, the way we live and work has fundamentally changed the way. And these industrial revolutions, they are a result of the coexistence of technology and society. Both, they are coexisting with each other. They are not separate. So when we are in the beginning of a global transformation that is characterized by the convergence, mixing of digital, physical, and biological technologies, like you are working, I know both of you are working on transhumanism. So in the times to come, you will have some chip implanted in the brain, and the person will become superhuman, like that. So the convergence of digital world, physical world, and biological world, where so these are being changes, and these are historical in terms of their size, their speed, and their scope. So because things are changing very fast, and this transformation here, they are giving rise to new systems, which are being built on the infrastructure of digital revolution. And these individual technologies, they become ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means available anytime, anywhere, any place. They are easily available to us. And these changes, they have revolutionized the educational space also. So the ODL mode, it has moved from being a simple technology mediated. For example, in the older days, we used to have television lessons. They're still being used, or radio, or overhead projector transparencies, or from the sampling. These were the simple technology. Or as we say, Sir Tony Bates has also indicated, the low-end technology and the high-end technology, from the simple one up to the complex ones. Complex ones like virtual reality, artificial intelligence, all made possible because of the development of internet. That made the things very easy. And now we are in such a digital era where the user-generated content, it dominates. And with the help of social media, the individuals are contributing to knowledge generation and replication. So one of my friend, he was laughing that we are a country of downloaders. Every time we go to the internet and keep on downloading the things.
True.
So now we need to change from the country of being the downloaders to the country of being the uploaders. We need to generate the content and add it to the body of knowledge from there. So therefore, the integration of social media in educational activities, it is very important, and particularly it has been found that it has been successful in enhancing students' academic performance, satisfaction, engagement, peer collaboration, or interaction with the instructors or their peer also. Now, there are various predictions that by the end of this year, around 30 billion internet connected devices and over 4-5 billion global internet users will be there. So these things, they will be changing the scenario, the way the data is being generated, our communication, our interaction, our teaching and learning, they are, because new tools, new technologies, they are being invented, and those who adopt and implement them, they stand out separately from those who do not use and tend to lag behind. You may be knowing about Roger Bell curve, in which those who use the technology first, they are called as innovators or the leaders. Then comes the majority, and then there are laggards who will always fall behind. They will not use it. So there will be a separation if they do not use it. So how the digital revolution is impacting innovation? It is changing the nature due to the, for example, the digitization of existing products and processes. So the distributed manufacturing, blockchain, Uberized activities in various sectors, that is happening. And secondly, it is the increasing pressure to innovate continuously. As digital technologies, they become the winner decider. Who will be the winner? The technology decides it, and that becomes very important from there. And the third factor is that a growing digital population, it creates more demand for digital products and services. But the business and government, they are not fast enough to offer the matching innovative digital solutions. Because every time we want better speed. So when nowadays we think that, oh, okay, when the 5G will come. But so our demand increases. We want better products, faster speed. You cannot wait for buffering. Buffering means the page does not load up quite fast, those things. But the issue here is that the business and the government, they are not able to match that demand. So there is a big gap between the demand and the supply. And in these cases, then the things become, quite in the sense that there are certain preferred choices. And particularly if it comes to online delivery or on-demand content, then they become a new thing. Like on, you can say it as Netflix of education. Means what you want. So there are certain star professors available. If you want to learn something, you go to them and you get your education from them. Or there are certain repositories available. So if you want to have certain specific kind of knowledge, you access that repository, access the material, and develop that relevant skill. So what has happened that the new markets for digital educational solutions, they have emerged in the form of say digital content or wearable products. You have your watch which note down your heartbeat and other things similarly, and that message goes to the doctor or something with the help of IoT applications, Internet of Things applications. Or in a way, the market for online assessment, it has grown very big. And particularly in the pandemic time, when you cannot have the normal proctored kind of examination. So new markets, they are coming up. And these developments, they have brought certain challenges also. The challenges are like the challenges of numbers, because large segment of population needs to be provided with education. So there is challenge of number. Then we have a challenge of relevance. Relevance means the need for specialized courses, because specialization is becoming narrower and vertically deeper into the subject area. We are not moving horizontally. We are going deep into a particular area. So it is becoming narrower. Like you are studying transhumanism. So it has become a narrower thing. And then in that transhumanism also, maybe you will deal only with neurological orders or how to increase the memory power. I know our good friend Nilgun, she has a lab of HCI, human computer interface. And there, how with the help of those things, the cognitive abilities. So if we are able to increase the cognitive ability or our affective things, a better sense of aptitude, appreciation or something, or development of psychomotor skills, something like that. So the relevance. Then there is another challenge of quality. Lot of content is available on internet, millions and billions, zettabyte, terabyte, so many things of quantity of the material is available. But is that material of what kind of quality of that? That is a big challenge. You have so many, if you go to internet, you want to search for certain massive open online course or any education content, you can find thousands or hundreds of courses. But which one is suitable to us? That is there. Because we need to judge the content for its quality in terms of whether it enhances learning or our learners, they are able to gain new knowledge and skill. We need to see that. If that is there, then it means it is quality. Otherwise, there is some problem with that. Because if it is not contributing to the enhancement of learning, or if the learners, they are not able to gain new knowledge or new skill, it means it is not serving the purpose. Then there is another challenge of access. Access means whether that technology is within the reach of the learners in geographical terms or openness. sometimes now during this pandemic, we have seen that the students, they use their mobile devices and 1.5 GB of data is available to them for one day. And if they attend one class, that their data package is finished in one class only. And then they cannot attend their rest of the classes because everybody is going with webinars nowadays. So at 10 o'clock, first webinar, 11 o'clock, second webinar, and then keep on happening like that. And then whether the technology is open in nature or not there, it makes a big difference. Like there are certain proprietary solutions. They may not be that open. You need to subscribe to them, but everybody cannot afford or have access to them. That becomes a big challenge. And this takes us to the challenge of cost, whether it is affordable or not. And then of speed. You take time in planning, designing, delivery of educational or training interventions, that. And these challenges, they can be tackled by disruptive innovation solutions. For example, the area of self-learning or measuring learning or collaborative and cooperative learning, personalization of education with the help of learning analytics. There we can, and particularly the area of self-learning. Means you give the opportunity, you have the resources available, and there are so many open educational resources are available. There are various platforms, there are free MOOCs available. So people, they can have access to them and can learn those things through self-learning. So there are a few things which have received a lot of attention during this past few years. For example, MOOCs, they have become very, very popular. Flipped classroom model, it has gained popularity. Social media in education, gamification in education, augmented reality and virtual reality applications. You were in Delhi, and perhaps if you, I don't know if you get the time to go to the Mahatma Gandhi, the place where he is, laid down there. So we created the augmented virtual reality by taking a 360-degree of those areas. So that the students, they can have access to those, they can see those things where they cannot go physically in terms of that. Then, in fact, there is a very interesting thing. I would like to suggest 4 things to our viewers who are joined. I think there are many. How many people are there? I can see a lot of people, they have joined the
It
session
says
now.
16, but more than 16 people online right now.
Yes. So I will suggest to them that if you want to learn, there are 4 main good resources which you can. The one is the Horizon Report. Few years ago, New Media Consortium used to publish it, but now it is being published by EduCause. This new, this Horizon Report, every year, they identify technologies which are impacting higher education sector, school education sector, technology, in what way it is going to impact. And they divide them into emerging technologies, or what are kind of the problems we are facing that can be solved or not within 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4 years, and beyond 5 years. What is coming up and how it is going to impact the education sector. So that is called as the Horizon Report. That is very good report. We must see that. The second is the report by the group of scholars at United Kingdom Open University. It is called as the Innovative Pedagogy Report. So the first Horizon Report deals with technology. This report deals with pedagogy. So to understand that, what are new modalities coming up in terms of pedagogy, this report is wonderful report. So Ferguson, Mike Sharples, you know them, those are wonderful researchers and scholars. So it is a group of them, and they identify new pedagogies that might transform education. For example, spaced learning where the learning can be, I'm going to take a session for Professor M.M. Pant somewhere during this month on spaced learning for that. Then open textbooks, immersive learning, student-led analytics, big data inquiry, or thinking with data, something like that. So those kind of the pedagogical innovations, those things. Then the third thing I would like to suggest to access is Solar. The first MOOC was launched by George Siemens and Stephen Dons in 2008 with their first MOOC. And after that, in the year 2011, Andrew Ng launched his course on Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, in which around 100,000, more than that, the people they enrolled. And that changed the scenario in which that the MOOCs, they became so popular. So Stephen Dons and George Siemens. George Siemens is an expert on learning analytics, and they have this Society of Learning Analytics Research, SOLAR, Solar, Society of Learning Analytics Research. The people, they should visit that website and learn that what is happening in the area of learning analytics, because it gives an idea that whether the learning, how the learning is happening and in what way it is impacting. And then the next thing which I would recommend to for our viewers, our friends who have joined this session, is about the UNESCO every year conducts Mobile Learning Week, because this is the era of mobile learning. Right now also, I was trying to connect using my computer to Instagram, but no, I had to use my mobile phone.
That's okay.
This is this age of mobile learning. Everything is condensed in our mobile systems there.
Yes.
And the UNESCO every year has this Mobile Learning Week, where they showcase the advancements, the innovations in the area of mobile learning, how we can use this tool for better teaching as a teacher, and the learners as a good device and tool for learning effectively. So these are a few of the things. Are there any questions?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. No problem. Okay, then let us discuss some of the important innovations or applications of technology which are changing the educational scenario. And one is this real-time communication tool. Like we are connected using Instagram now. This is a real-time communication tool. We are going through it. And effective communication is a key to the successful teaching and learning, because the students and the teachers use synchronous and asynchronous tools of communication. And they have been very effective in sharing of ideas among multiple users simultaneously. And another advantage is that we can integrate them with a learning management system or in our institutional website or personal website, anywhere. So with the help of these tools, a student can learn a subject offered by an institution which is in a different place. Like the students in India, they can access the courses by Anadolu University, the internet, and through the learning management system, they can have that access to it. Or in a country altogether, just by interacting in real time with the peers and the teachers. So the tools like WebRTC, RTC stands for real-time communication, like Skype. You may be knowing that in Skype now, it has the real-time translation of the language. We have some of our friends in Brazil, they speak Portuguese, so they cannot speak English, I cannot speak Portuguese, so I use Skype, And when I talk to them in English, the software translates it into Portuguese and they hear it in Portuguese. When they speak in Portuguese, the software translates it into English and like that.
Thanks to
So
Google.
next time when we use Skype, I hope that the Microsoft company, they have added Turkish, Hebrew, or those languages. Yes, also. In that case, then when I speak in Hindi, you will get it in Turkish. And when you talk to me, Serap is smiling. Then I can listen to it in the original language when they speak with it. So this is, then we have Slack, and there are these kind of platforms. They are very beneficial in creating an online presence. Online presence is very important. The teacher's online presence is very important. Yes. So that is there. Then removing the feeling of distance, the feeling of isolation needs to be removed. Video conferencing, file sharing, social networking, gaming, screen sharing, and online education. There are certain examples, let me tell, like this is Pontificia Universidad in Colombia. They offer a English-Spanish course where the English part is taught by an American university and the Spanish part is taught by the university in Colombia. So the English speaker students, they have a counterpart in Colombia. The first half of the course is based on the questions in Spanish, where the English students, they have to solve using Spanish. And the second part is same, but it is in English. So this is a unique experiment, that to learn the language, you have two groups and both groups work collaboratively. So when it is in English, they will work using helping the Spanish students. And when it is Spanish, they will take the help of their English peer and work collaboratively for that there. And means this is, it happens something from there for that. So many students. And I was teaching in Wawasan Open University in Malaysia. There, we used to have there this web RCT version of VisaIQ, a platform. That platform has been sold by the owner now, and perhaps they also use Zoom for teaching online or synchronous tutorials. So there, you have nowadays so many applications available as real-time communication channel. We have Google Meet, we have Zoom, we have Cisco WebEx, GoToMeeting, and so many applications, they are available to the people to get connected to that. So that is a big benefit to connect over a distance, so that the feeling of isolation is removed from there. Another challenge which is covered by these things is that as the internet traffic is increasing, most of the people, they are getting connected to internet every day. The prices of the data package in some countries, it is coming down. You will be happy to know that the cost of data package in the world is cheapest in India. The data package our rates are very low. When I was in Malaysia, there it was very expensive. So every time I used to think that whether should I switch on my mobile data or not. And here it is 24 hours on. We don't stop it. So this is increasing the internet traffic. And this is creating a different online needs. And these online needs, they are generating massive data. This data, it provides us insights into the users' browsing behaviors and preferences, that how they are behaving in online mediums and what are their preferences. And in case of educational institutions where online services are integrated for the course delivery, from admission to the examination. This data can be very useful to identify at-risk students or to make personalized learning. So the learner choices and the difficulty in the courses, there we can identify those things. So, and here the SOLAR, I was telling, the Society for Learning Analytic Research, it becomes a good platform to understand that how we can use it. And there are various easy tools available for it. Many universities, they use a learning management system. For example, Blackboard, which is proprietary, very powerful. You can use Joomla, Sakai, Moodle, which is open source solution, and there are other virtual classroom tools. So they have enabled the launching of MOOCs for increasing the access to education, and which is a preferred choice of the government also. And these applications, they provide us a lot of data from there.
Dr. Sharma, so sorry about. There are two questions right now, and we have 3 more minutes to answer. The first one from Istek. Istek is from Istanbul. She asked about the K-12 education after COVID-19. What do you think about that?
Dr. Sharma, so sorry about.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The question is about K-12. What happened after COVID-19? Can you say something about the K-12 education?
Yes, the K-12 education, it is not going to be the same as it was before COVID times, because many tools they have come up. The teachers, they have seen the kind of a new role. Even the parents, they have acquired a new role of parents turned teachers for the kids at home, because you have to teach at home everyone from there. So there will be a new kind of pedagogical and technological interventions which will be in the, and there are new tools which have come for K-12 sector also. So things are going to be changed. They are not going to remain similar. And particularly some of the countries, they have taken adequate steps also. I remember that China, they have already introduced the AI curriculum from their primary school also. In India also, the government has introduced the artificial intelligence curriculum for its class. That is the secondary stage, from class 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 from there. But definitely the K-12 sector is going to be transformed very heavily in the times to come.
Last minute, Aysel asked about augmented reality. How can we integrate it into distance learning?
Oh, this is easy. There are certain low-tech, less expensive tools. There are certain websites, and we can create, say, like Google Cardboard, in which you can put your mobile phone and can develop the content. So what we do, we have our content, we have our multimedia, and with the help of software, you convert those images or the text into a digital format as a 3D content. So when the students, actually this is all a case of QR codes. So that image is converted into a sort of a quick response code, and when the students, they will scan that will go live, because the student, if they are connected to the internet, then it will go live, or otherwise if it is 3D, then with the help of their mobile phone, they can watch it into it. So it is easy to create a simple kind of augmented reality applications, the content which is helpful for the students in distance education.
Thank you. And the audience ask you whether you will join us again with another wonderful speech conversation.
Please.
Yes,
Yes.
certainly.
Başka soru var mı? Are there any questions?
Just a minute. सुन रहे हो क्या? जाग रहे हो? सो गए? हैं? वो आ गए, एक मिनट हेलो कर जाओ. अरे मुझे क्या पता था. Okay, it is midnight now, so
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, ideas, knowledge with us. It is very important. You are one of my beloved friends. Thank you giving your support every time when I ask.
Thank you so
And
much.
say thank you to your lovely wife also. And we would
Thank
like
you
to
so
see you
much.
again.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
How do we say teşekkürler?
Teşekkür ederim.
Oh, teşekkürler.
Great.
And in India, it is already Gunaydin because it is past midnight now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye then.
See you
Take
later.
care.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye bye.